In Jeremiah, we pick up again with chapters 8 and 9 because of the idea is that he's giving them disclosure. I know this seems like it's the same thing over and over and again, but it's important. God does not reiterate when he's being serious. It's possible also that he's going to different audiences saying the same thing to the people, same thing to the kings. He spoke to several different kings. Hopefully, much of this was also going out as a writ, as something that was a legal document from God to man. He talks about how he sent them prophets, he sent them teachers, but they would not hearken in chapter 7 and before. You won't listen to me, you won't come to me. And again, like I said, this is anti election because it was their responsibility, it was their choice. They chose to be stiff necked. If you're going to be stiff necked up to a point, God's going to use you, but he's going to use you in the negative as an example of his authority and his wrath, or you can be an example of his goodness and grace. That's your choice. In chapter 8, he says they're going to bring out the bones of the priests and the inhabitants and spread them before the sun and the moon, whom you've served. You've served these guys, so we're going to spread you before your God. You know, very dastardly things that are happening, but they're happening to the people who have hated Jehovah and hated his words. And again, these were not just people worshiping under a tree, they were sacrificing their children. They were having hypersexuality. I've gone over this again and again about what this whole sense of worship was not just something that existed in a nullisphere and in nothing place. It happened and affected other people, affected society, affected justice and judgment. And so we see this. It's this God talking to them. Why is it that Jerusalem has become a perpetual backsliding? They hold fast the seed, refuse to return, making that same point. I hearkened and heard, but they spoke not aright. No man repented of his wickedness. How do you say you are wise, and the law of the God is with us? Certainly in vain has he it. The pen of the scribes is in vain. Those who write the truths of God are in vain. Therefore I will give your wives to others, and fields to others that shall inherit them. For they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people, saying, peace, peace, but there is no peace. This is something that the prophets were saying, which was a lie. There's peace between you and God, and we will have peace with the nations. Peace, peace, but there is no peace because of sin. I will surely consume them, says the Lord. There shall be no grape on the tree, nor figs on the tree. Why do you sit, assemble yourselves, and enter into the defended cities and be silent? Just wait for the wrath. You need to just be quiet, go into your cities, and wait for the wrath to come. We looked for peace, and none came. We looked for health, and only trouble. Behold the voice of the cry of the daughter of my people, saying, because of them that dwelt in the country, is this not the Lord's Zion? They were kind of saying, well, aren't we the people of the Lord? Isn't this Yahweh's Zion? And he's like, no, this is not the daughter of Zion. This is being a daughter of Belial. This is being a daughter of Molech. This is not a daughter of Zion. Is not her king with her? The harvest is past and the summer is ended. For the hurt of the daughter of my people I am turned. I am black, astonished with that taking hold of me. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no way to soothe the people? Oh, that my heads were waters and mine eyes were fountains. I will weep day and night. Again, here is it where God is weeping. God is a weeping God. We always hear of Jehovah, Jireh, Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah Shalom. God is peace. We have all these little Jehovah names. Well, here we have the Jehovah who weeps, and he's Jehovah weeps. We also have the Jehovah who smites. We also have the Jehovah who pleads. There's three more there that we didn't even bother to go by because we don't get this far in the book. I hate to say it, but most of the time we Christians will get right about into here, tell a few stories, hit and miss, get a few Jesus and personal promises, and then flip through and just leapfrog to Jesus. We don't see all of this stuff. Oh, that I was in a wilderness, a lodging place of wayfaring man, that I might leave my people and go with them. For they bend their tongues like a bow with lies. They are not valiant for the truth. Take heed, everyone his neighbors, and trust not in your brother, for every brother is a supplicant, and every neighbor walks with slander. There is no one to trust. They deceive one another. They speak not the truth. Their habitation is in the midst of deceit. Therefore, the Lord of hosts, again, Lord of hosts, this is the military God, says, I will melt them and try them. For how shall I do for the daughter of my people? Their tongue is an arrow shot. It speaks deceit. One speaks peacefully to his neighbor, but in his heart he lays in wait. He's just being, across the surface. The mountains I will take up a weeping and a wailing for the lamentations, because they have burned up so that none shall pass through them. Neither will men hear the voice of the cattle nor the fowls of the air. It's going to be desolate. It's going to be gone. I will make Jerusalem heaps and a den of dragons, and I will make the cities of Judah desolate without an inhabitant. So continuing in chapter 9, he says in 11, I will make Jerusalem a heap, a den of dragons, and I will make the cities of Judah without inhabitant. Who is the wise man that might understand this, and to whom the Lord of the mouth has spoken shall declare it? He says, and the Lord said, because they have forsaken my law, and which I set before them, and have not obeyed my voice, neither walked therein, but have walked after the imagination of their own hearts, and after Balaam. Behold, I will feed them with wormwood, which is bitterness and sorrow, and I'll give them gall to drink. Remember what they gave Jesus, vinegar to drink for his thirst. He's going to give them vinegar to drink. I will scatter them among the heathen, which has happened. They have been scattered among the heathen, whom they did not know, nor their fathers have known, and I will send the sword after them to consume them. And this is sad. This isn't God being anti-Semitic, but it is the future generations. And what generation of Jews have stopped to say, we've sinned against our God? That's why this is happening. That's why everywhere we go, people hate us. They're just taking it as, well, people hate us because they hate us. Turn back to your God. And thus said, consider ye and call the mourning women, that they might come, and send for cunning women, that they might come. They used to have people who hired to be mourners because somebody deserved to be mourning, because there was a sense of loss of someone's life. Okay, they would hire women to go and cry at funerals, basically, but it was a testament of this person deserves to be mourned. Well, the loss of this city, call the mourning ladies, and let them come and make haste and wail for us. The voice of the wailing shall be heard out of Zion. Behold, we are spoiled. We are greatly confounded, because we are of a forsaken land. Yet hear the word of the Lord, O ye women, and give ear unto the word of your mouth, and teach your daughters wailing. Death has come from out of our windows, and entered into our palaces. Thus said the Lord, even the carcasses of men shall fall like dung in the open fields. He is coming after them. You're going to die in the fields, or you'll die in the cities. You're going to die. Let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, nor the mighty man in his might, nor the rich man in his riches. But let him that glorieth in this, that I understand and knoweth me, that I am the Lord, that exercises loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For these things I delight. What does God delight in? He delights in judgment, righteousness, and loving kindness. And you might say, boy, doesn't sound like a lot of loving kindness here. Well, this is the tail end of a long period of loving kindness, of always bringing you back, of forgiving you, of talking with you, of working with you. But they've gotten worse and worse, and it gets to a point to where they're almost to a point of being completely useless. And I know that, none are righteous, no, not one, but that no heart would even be willing to be a fallow ground for God. God knows people's hearts. We revealed that with the coming of when Jesus called Nathan. He says, I've seen a Jew in whom there is no deceit. We do have a role to play. People don't like to hear this. They like to say, all of God and none of me. When you hear God's word, which came from him, respond. Respond is the second act. We act like, well, they have to do the whole act. You have to make the whole pie. No, he brings in the ingredients. You're a sinner, here's salvation. Now it's your job, if you believe in him, to appropriate. Just like if I believe in my doctor, she gives me medicine. My responsibility is to take that medicine. Oh, we act like, well, the taking of the medicine is salvation. No, the salvation is the preparing and the giving of the medicine. Christ is the medicine. Take it. But glory in that. Behold, the days will come when I will punish them that are circumcised with the uncircumcised. That's been happening for a long time. Hear ye the word of the Lord in chapter 10. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen. Be not dismayed at the signs in the heavens, for the heathen are dismayed. For the customs of the people are in vain. For one cutteth the tree out of the forest, and lays it down, and deck it with silver and gold, and they fasten it with nails. This is how they created their images, the ones that they worship. They created their gods this way, with axes. Insomuch there is none like thee, O Lord. Thou art great and mighty. Who who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to thee doth it return, therefore, as though all the wise men of the nations in the earth, but there is none like thee. But they have become brutish and foolish. Their stock is full of vanities. Silver plate. They bring up silver plates and the workmanships of their hands. But the God is the true God. He is the living God and the everlasting God. At his wrath, the world will tremble. Thus shalt thou say to them, the gods that you've made are not gods in heaven and the earth, neither even they will perish from the earth and from under the heaven. He, which is God, made the earth by his power, and he has established the world by his wisdom. He has made the earth by his power. He has established the world by his wisdom, and stretched forth the heavens at his discretion. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by a graven image. His molten image is falsehood. They are vanities filled with errors. And there will be a time of visitation, and when that visitation happens, they will perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them. He is the former of all things. Israel is the rod of my inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. See, the visitation of God to his people is not like these other gods who cannot visit. They cannot meet their people. Gather up thy wares out of the land, O inhabitants of the fortress. Behold, I will sling out the inhabitants of this land at once. You know, he's going to send them out and will distress them that they might find it so. Woe to me for my hurt, says Jeremiah. My wound is grievous. Truly, this is a grief, and I must bear it. The Jerusalem must bear it. Also, he's speaking of Jerusalem. My tabernacle is spoiled, and all my cords are broken. My children have gone from me, and they are not. There is none that stretch forth their tents and set forth my curtains. For the pastors have become brutish and have not sought the Lord. Notice that. This is God speaking now. The pastors have become brutish, and they have not sought the Lord. Therefore they shall not prosper. Behold, the noise of the brute is come, and great commotion out of the north. O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in him. Is it not? It is not in man that walketh directly in his steps. O Lord, correct me with judgment, not in mine anger, lest thou bring me to nothing. Here he is saying, admitting, even Jeremiah, admitting his sin as a person. Not that he has prepared, that he has participated in these sins, but he recognizes himself as a sinful man also. Once again, in Jeremiah, we see so much here for God laying out this, and he's being very fluid, and he's been giving a lot of poetry, he's giving a lot of imagery in hopes, you know, that they would listen and respond, even though they don't. We need to not get lost in foreknowledge in this subjective predestination. Well, God knew, and he's playing card games back and forth. He's playing games with himself. Is God lying when he says, I weep? Is that a lie? Is he just playing an actor in his own play that he wrote? And this is where God weeps over the sins of men. He will remain true to his promises to Abraham and to David. To Abraham, to lead them into this land and give them the good land. To David, that there would be a king over the people forever. And he's going to keep those two. And he's keeping them in Jesus. And he's going to fulfill that even to Revelation, when Jehovah, is made one with his bride, which is Jerusalem. I'm not sure exactly where the church fits into that, but God is going to fulfill this. And if it has to work, it has to be that he cleanses Jerusalem down to the last remnant. He will do that. But that spark will rise again and move back up. There will come a time when the heart of the Jew will be for his God, not just for the laws of God, not just for the keeping of the Talmud, or keeping of the Mishnah, or the keeping of all the rules and regulations, but they will actually have a heart for their God. And that's going to happen. Anyway, that last little sermon, just trying to tie up here at the end at chapter 10, to where he's showing this people are brutish. So when this happens, the people can't say, you know, and he's even said that before, when the nations go, what happened to that city? And the nations about will say, well, they just fell by accident, or well, their enemies were more powerful than them. They won't say that their God turned against them because they turned against their God. That's going to be what Jerusalem is until they come back, as it is a place where God turned against his people because they turned against him.